YouTube. So, last week's video of me reading chapter 3 was pretty much my first video of me reading or talking with my actual voice. My other videos have all just been Lorne calls, edited slightly, and yeah, I feel like I was a bit awkward, but tonight I'm going to be a little bit more loosey-goosey when I read. I'm reading chapter 4, so let's get on to it. I hope you like it. Taken Abroad, Chapter 4 by Lorne Armstrong. Aaron rolled over and woke up to Paul shaking him. "Get up, lazy bones. It's time to go to work." Slowly but surely, Aaron was able to get up enough energy to sit up in his bed. "What time is it?" he asked. "It's 7 a.m. Time to start the day," Paul replied. Aaron threw the blankets off of him and crawled down from his bunk. Paul was already dressed in his uniform and was brushing his teeth. "You got up kind of early, didn't you?" Aaron asked his friend. "Yup, we have to be at the Iraqi police station at 8 this morning, so you need to step on it," Paul replied. "Why do we have to be there so early?" "Because I have to direct traffic today, and it's expected to be a bit heavier this morning because of the new troops coming through." "That would figure," Aaron said jokingly. "Leave it to you to mess up my much-needed rest." Paul pat Aaron on the back and replied, "You know I wouldn't do it if I didn't care." Aaron smiled as he watched his friend walk away and continued to get dressed. The morning had gone by rather quickly, and Aaron and Paul sat on a concrete barrier and ate their lunch. "Sometimes 30 minutes for lunch just doesn't seem long enough," Aaron said. "I bet that's how Lorne feels too, when he's at work." "Yeah, I know what you mean," Paul replied, "especially when I have to stand in the middle of the street all day directing traffic. It kind of makes the feet a little tender." "Well, at least your feet will match your head," Aaron cajoled. "I can't let you be the only one with a tender brain," Paul retorted. Oh god, this is fucking genius comedic writing. After they finished eating, they returned to work. Aaron looked forward to the end of the day when him and Paul could go back to the base and give their feet a well-deserved rest. At 2 o'clock, Aaron came out of the police station and walked to the Humvee and stood waiting for Paul to join him for their afternoon break. Paul saw Aaron and signaled to him that he would be right with him. Aaron waved back to him and turned to open the door to the Humvee when he heard a gunshot. He quickly turned around and looked at his friend. Paul stood there with his hand above his heart and to the left. He looked up at Aaron, stumbled 2 steps toward him in the road, and then collapsed. "Paul!" Aaron shouted. Aaron paid no heed to the 2 gunshots that were fired at him as he ran toward his injured friend. When he reached Paul, he bent over and helped his friend to his feet, and helped him get behind a car that had been abandoned in the middle of the street after hearing the gunfire. He helped Paul prop his back against the car as he sat him on the ground, then lifted his M16 rifle from his shoulder and took aim in the direction the shots had come from. "I can't tell exactly where the shots came from," Aaron told Paul as he looked around frantically. "I'm going to shoot just above the building to scare the sniper. If I'm lucky, he'll shoot again and I'll spot him." "Hurry up and shoot then," Paul demanded. Aaron took aim just above the building he suspected the shots were fired from. He waited a couple of seconds that felt to Paul like hours. There was no return fire. The sniper disappeared. Aaron turned his attention to his friend. Aaron," Paul stuttered. "Yeah, Paul, I'm here," he replied. "I'm not feeling so well right now." "Hang in there, Paul. The ambulance is on its way. You're going to be fine." Aaron gave all the encouraging words he could give to his friend to make him feel assured, but he knew himself that Paul was hurt bad. The ambulance arrived and moved Paul into the back and began sticking him with IV needles and setting tubes in place on the way to the base hospital. They did everything they could do to keep him stabilized until they got him set up properly at the hospital. Aaron sat in the waiting room with his hands folded in prayer and tears falling from his eyes, unsure of what he would do if his friend that had been there for him through the hardest times were to die. He raised his head after ending his prayer with, "Amen." All he could do was wait. He paced back and forth in the waiting room. Minutes seemed like hours, and hours seemed like days, as Aaron awaited word about Paul's condition. 7:45 p.m., the doctor came into the waiting room. He gave Aaron an apologetic look, and Aaron knew that his friend had perished. "We did everything we could do. We thought for a while that he might pull through, but there was just too much loss of blood from his main artery," the doctor explained. Aaron turned and walked out of the hospital in silence. He spent that night in Paul's bed and let the rain of tears put him to sleep. He was awakened by Baker letting him know that Sergeant Buchanan had called him over the intercom into his office. After forcing himself to get up from the bed, he looked down at Paul's bed and remembered he had fallen asleep there last night because of the loss of his friend, and blocked his mind from going any further in memory to prevent breaking down in tears again. The loss had taken its toll on Aaron. He had done all he could do at the time to get Paul to the hospital at the time. Lorne just said "at the time" twice in one sentence. But he still couldn't help but beat himself up with what-if questions. What if I would have just kept running once I had him on his feet after I helped him up from being shot? What if I would have called in for the ambulance before running out to help him to safety? What if I would have been paying more attention at the time to the surroundings? Why wasn't I paying more attention to the surroundings? Why wasn't we wearing our bulletproof gear? Why wasn't we? It's why weren't we, Lorne? He would be alive right now if we have had our bulletproof gear on. After a moment, he realized that the questions he had were endless, and he just couldn't understand. He was overwhelmed by the whole thing and was mentally drained right now. He pulled his mind away from the incident the best he could and continued to get dressed. He moved himself to the latrine to shave and brush his teeth. While standing in front of the mirror shaving, his mind got lost in thought again as he stared blankly into his reflection. That sentence had no punctuation. He didn't snap out of it until he realized he had cut his cheek from the pressure he had put against the blade. Aaron knocked on Sergeant Buchanan's office door. "Enter," Sergeant Buchanan yelled. Opening the door, he moved quietly and steadily to Buchanan's desk and stood in silence as he waited to be addressed by the staff sergeant. "Aaron," Buchanan spoke, "please have a seat." As he sat down, he fought to keep himself from breaking down again because of all the thoughts racing through his mind. His eyes were an ocean of tears ready to flood his cheeks, but somehow he kept them back. "I'm sorry about the loss of Staff Sergeant Pablo," Buchanan spoke again. "I know you and him were very close, like brothers, you might say. The loss is a great blow to the whole unit. I have written his family and need to ask if I can put together personal items to be shipped back to his home." The staff sergeant paused a moment. "Then I want you to take the next few days off so you can try to heal from the loss of your friend. I know how hard it is for you right now. I've been through the same type of thing myself before." "Yes, sir," was Aaron's only response as he lifted himself up off the chair and moved toward the door. Aaron, Buchanan spoke before Aaron could get out the door. Aaron turned around to look at Staff Sergeant. Yes, sir? Who? If you need someone to talk to, Aaron, you're more than welcome to come to me. Buchanan stated to let Aaron know that he was there for him. Thank you, sir. Aaron walked back to his dorm, where he slowly began the painful task of putting together Paul's personal belongings to be shipped back home to his family. He kept the one picture he had of him and Paul that was taken in front of the Humvee that they always rode in. When he had all of Paul's personal effects together, he brought them to Staff Sergeant Buchanan and returned back to his bunk, where he spent the rest of the day and night in bed, most of the time staring off into space while his mind wandered off through the past. Aaron returned to work a few days later. Still not back to himself, he returned to work anyways. As hard as he tried to let things return normal for himself, he felt it was near impossible without Paul there with him. There were times when Aaron had some close calls of being shot or blown up because his mind would drift back to watching Paul get shot and falling on the ground before him. He began having a hard time focusing on his job, but no longer felt anything when he killed or had witnessed someone else being killed, including those from his own unit. A rut-row. Womp womp. Finally, the strain became too much as he was in the field one day and witnessed 3 children that were playing with a ball become insurgent targets and were blown up only 30 feet from where he stood. Aaron stood paralyzed, and had to be moved physically by 2 unit teammates. As they grabbed his arms to haul him to safety, Aaron began to resist and tried to run toward the departed children, but his 2 teammates overpowered him and forced him to safety. Holy cow. You guys, this is captivating. I'm surprised Lorne wasn't an Iraqi veteran. What do you guys think?